Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of the Genesys Cloud Community's Q&A show, the show where we answer your pressing questions from the Genesys online community. My name is Matt Lawson. I'm your online community manager, and today we're celebrating WEMay. It's the community's arguably favorite time of the year. It's a great time where the WEM community goes all out to give our WEM enthusiasts the content that you all crave. And this episode is very special because at the start of the month, we put up two discussion posts, one in the WEM community, one in the Genesys Cloud community, asking what questions you have for our WEM experts. And man, you all showed up. I think we had over 40 questions submitted in total. Thank you so much, everybody who did participate. We had great questions coming in through discussions, emails, just about everywhere. I think even a few came in through the YouTube channel, which is fantastic. So what we're going to do is a couple of things. First, I have Mark and Pascal stopping by. They're going to give us a real quick overview of evaluation assistance and supervisor insights. Yes, these are two newer features to the WEM suites, and we want to make sure you know exactly how to use them. After that, my old friend, Tracy Vickers, who also manages the WEM community, don't forget about that. She's going to swing by to ask your questions to our WEM panel. I'm excited. I get to take a little bit of time off from the show, and I can't wait to see what questions she picked for you guys to answer or to get answers to. Let's see here. What else is going on? There's going to be trivia later this week in the trivia community. You can find out more information on our site, the WEM Genesys Cloud. It'll be posted there. And of course, this is the last episode before Experience. If you want the chance to meet people like me, Tracy, our friend Nicole, and actually a lot of the guests that are on the episode today, we hope to see you in Colorado. It'd be great to get to say, hey, maybe give you some fun swag or a prize from the prize wall. I mean, who knows? All right. We have a lot to get through. I'm excited. Let the WEMay begin. Let's start with Mark and Pascal. Guys, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you, Matt. Very well, thank you.
Both of you first-time guests on the Q&A show. Just so happens you're coming in the middle of WEMay, which has been an annual thing that we've done on the community, I think for 3 years running now. But first, real quick, let's hear who you are. Mark, why don't we start with you? Tell us a little bit about what you do at Genesys, how long you've been with the company, all that good stuff.
Great, thanks, Matt. My name is Mark Vegas, and I am a member on the Web Knowledge Hub team. I've been with Genesys almost exactly a year now. In my area in the Web Knowledge Hub, I focus on speech and text analytics, as well as quality management and surveys. Those are my areas of expertise.
Yes, thanks, Mac and Mark. I've been with Genesys about 3 years, joined Genesys through the acquisition of our company called Nguvu. That pretty much became the gamification components of Genesys Cloud 3. I am also within the Web Knowledge Hub, mainly focusing on performance management and supporting my colleagues' activities as part of customer experience for the Knowledge Hub.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us. I really can't wait to get started with the demos. Mark, I know you're going to be talking about evaluation assistance, so why don't we just go ahead and get started?
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, so when you are wanting to leverage evaluation assistance in evaluation forms, we're not going to jump right into the evaluation form first. We need to first go into our speech and text analytics area, and we need to make sure that there's a topic that exists and the relative phrases that we're looking for within that topic. So I'm going to select the topic of closing. And so I'm going to select my closing topic and take a look at it. I can see here that I have 5 different phrases in the closing topic. I have appreciate your business, have a nice day, et cetera, et cetera. If what I want to do is document and add phrases to the system, which I can add right in this area. I can go ahead and add phrases right here that are anything that aligns with what the behavior from the agent is that we're looking for. So we want to make sure that that is all in alignment with the customer experience that we're looking to deliver. So that's really step one, is making sure that you have the relevant topic as well as the phrases that are associated with that topic that demonstrate the behavior. So once you've got that done, now we can go and take a look at our evaluation forms and start working on an evaluation form. So I'm going to go ahead and into my evaluation forms, and I'm going to select to create an evaluation form. Under my form name, I'm just going to select QA form, and my section is closing. So I'm using the closing area just as a demonstration here. Obviously, you're going to have an opening section or something relative to that, as well as like a body section. And so I'm going to select my question type is going to be yes or no. And I am going to add my question. Did the agent use the standard greeting? Closing. I'm sorry. Okay, so now I've got my question, I've got my section, I've got everything lined up. Now you'll see here, there's an option to add evaluation assistance condition. So I want to add an evaluation assistance condition. So when I select that, it opens up this area where I want to select it if the conversation includes these topics. Well, the topic I'm looking for is closing, because that's where I was doing my work, is closing. So I will select closing. So now I will go ahead and I would save this. Now, what happens behind the scenes is that when the system is pulling up an interaction for the purposes of an evaluation, when the user selects the form, the QA form, behind the scenes, the system is going to look at this question. It's going to do really analyze the overall evaluation form. It's going to see that I have an evaluation assistance condition on this question. Then it's going to jump into the analytics component and look for one of those phrases that I have identified in my closing topic. If the system recognizes that one of those phrases was successfully spoken by the customer, the system is going to automatically score that with the yes answer. Did the agent use the standard greeting as the question? The system is going to respond and answer yes, because it recognized that there was a phrase hit and a topic hit for the closing topic. So that's the way that you would want to go ahead and set that up. Now, when you're using evaluation assistance conditions, you are not limited to one question for the entire evaluation form. Your form, if it's 10 questions long, you could have multiple. You could have 4, 5, 6, 7 different questions using different evaluation assistance conditions. So keep that in mind, that there's a lot of flexibility when it comes to using evaluation assistance. It doesn't matter if you're using policies to select those evaluations or those interactions for evaluation purposes, or if you're manually selecting them. The evaluation assistance condition behavior is going to work the same, whether it's a automatically identified and selected interaction that's assigned to an evaluator, or if the evaluator goes in and pulls the call automatically. As long as they're using this evaluation form, then they'll be able to leverage that automation technology.
Hey, Mark,
yes.
I'm sorry, Matt. I had a question, Mark. When you started this demo, you created a new form. Could I add evaluation assistance to an existing form that I already have set up?
Not exactly. You can't add it to an existing form, but we've added a capability in the application now. I selected the agent evaluation form. You'll notice in the lower right, I have an option now to copy this form. So this form is already published. It's in use. I can create a draft copy of this form. When I create that copy, I would rename it. I'll just go through that process, and you'll see it says copy of agent evaluation. I can now change this to whatever I would like. If you find that you guys are frequently updating your evaluation forms, a best practice would be to add a version number to the end of it. So this would be version 2. And now you'll notice when I changed it to a unique name, I now have the ability to save it. So now I can go ahead and edit and modify this form. So I'm not starting with a blank slate. I'm starting with an existing evaluation form where I can go ahead and modify it however I would like.
Cool. I have a
Okay.
couple questions. The first one is I see you have some gray numbers and some pink numbers. Are the pink numbers because you may not have a greeting already in the system?
No, that's just the scoring. That's just the
Oh,
scoring
okay.
numbers.
Oh,
That's all
okay.
I'm seeing there.
Okay. And then my other question is, I was kind of curious. So if I like, we all know in call centers and customer management, you have different kinds of customers, different customers that like different valued customers. Sometimes you have calls where the customer may be you may need to escalate it or something. Can you set perimeters around these forms going to those different tiered customers? Like if you wanted to do a different styled evaluation based on how you want to target a certain customer group?
Oh, absolutely. The system does support having multiple different evaluation forms in the system. If I go into my index here, you'll see I have different evaluation forms. There's a lot of times where, what you're looking for from a customer experience perspective and really the agent behaviors are going to be very different based on the type of call that the agent is fielding. Whether it's a sales call or a collections call, for example. A collections call, you're going to be looking for, maybe some more assertive behavior from the agent trying to collect a debt. Whereas in sales, you might be looking more for, upselling, in additional offers, things like that. So there's definitely a valid business case where you would want to have multiple different evaluation forms to cater to the different contact types that you have in your contact center.
Okay, cool.
No questions for me. Thank you, Mark. That was very good.
Thank you. I appreciate your time, guys.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. And that feature that you just went over, that's included with the Genesys Cloud WEM suite, right? There's nothing you need to turn on in the App Foundry or anything like that.
Yeah, okay. No, it's part of the GC3 license or GC2 with the add-on. So
all right, cool. All right, perfect. Pascal, kind of going along to, we're going from evaluation assistance. We've got some more great benefits for the supervisors out there. You're going to highlight Supervisor Insight.
This is a feature that was released on April 19th, so a very recent one, almost a month in. It was in beta previously for a few weeks with some specific customers. And this is the first version. This is actually providing supervisors with insight into their team's performance using the gamification profile. So your employees, you have turned on gamification profile for your employees. They are meeting their metrics, meeting their KPIs, scoring points, and so on. And then the supervisors now have visibility into that. Currently, the Insight module provides visibility by gamification profiles. We are currently working on a roadmap enhancement to be able to filter here by work teams or even management units and so on. So be able to filter in different ways, but right now it's currently filtering on the gamification profile. So in this case, we're using our own here, the WEM team in this demo environment, and I am the supervisor, and this is my team. So Robert, Faye, Kat, and so on are employees that work in my team, and I have visibility into their current results. The way the Insight module works, it's providing me with comparison month over month, current month to last month. So I always see my employees' current performance this month and also comparing to last month. I could filter on weeks, so week over week instead of month over month. And what that tells me is when you mouse over one of those progress bar, I can see that Robert last month scored 78.9% of the performance points that was associated to his profile. Currently this month, he's scoring 79.75, so a bit better than last month. There's a bunch of information on number of work days, and there's even the detailed view, the detailed information of how many points Robert is actually scoring. So you have all this type of information that is color coded. It's really easy to see with the progress bar. The darker teal, the pale teal, and even the red progress bar are showing percentage of goal. And you can quickly filter on any of those headers from best to top performance to lower performance, and you mouse over any of those, you can see the detailed results. And if you mouse over the title of that KPI, it gives you a visual representation of what the employees see in their gamification profile. So for example, here after call work, I remember that you need to be, this is after call work time ratio, I need to be 80% or lower. And as low as I go, I score better. So this is the behavior I'm expecting from my employees. I need them to have an average after call work time ratio that's as low as possible. And this is where they score maximum points. You can view also this scorecard or this insight into average value. So instead of looking at percentage of goal, you're looking at the actual result from that KPI. So average hold time, you're no longer looking at results in points, you're looking at results in seconds or minutes and seconds. So it's a way to quickly see your team's results and really quickly rank who's top performer, who's performing less, but also always have that comparison month over month, even at the individual level. So you can learn that, Mark is doing better this month than last month. Faye is struggling a bit more on this KPI compared to last month. But then again, as the day progresses and the month progresses, this performance gets updated, and you can move up, in the leaderboard. At this level, you can also drill down into the detailed view of your employees. So this is a summary of my team, but then if I click on Faye's name or any of my employees' name, I can get to their detailed version of this scorecard insight. So same type of information, same type of result, the same filtering, like month over month, this month compared to last month. Overall result here, I can see that Faye is scoring better, 46% to goal compared to 35% to goal last month. And I have that same information for all the metrics in that gamified profile. In this view here, I can have trend lines. Like this is a demo environment, so the trend line doesn't quite look good, but in the reality, day over day, throughout the month, comparing this month to last month, you can have a lot of information in there. You can change that chart to a line graph or bar graph. From this view here, you can initiate follow-ups with your employees. So that's a neat item here. You've identified that maybe I want to coach this employee on average hold time or average handling time. I can from here initiate to schedule a coaching. So through the same mechanics that we have in the coaching view, you can quickly here set up a coaching with your employee. You can assign a learning module. So the learning modules are part of this immersive experience where your employees have everything they need to do their job. You can assign a learning module. So please read up on this subject. Or you can even send an ad hoc message, like open message, congratulations, kudos, or need something from me, open up that discussion. So this is the first version of our Supervisor Insight. There's definitely a lot of roadmap items that will enhance. We already have a lot of customers using this and providing feedback. And just before we close off, a quick note here, although you can't download the scorecard, you can send a link to your employees so they can view this. It pretty much gives them a snapshot of their performance, a current performance, like a PDF document, and you can send it to the chat, to an email, and share it with your leaders. So the shareable link is also very useful to send information and share that information. Cool. So a very neat feature, very useful for leaders and supervisors to learn and see a lot of information for their team's performance. And very simple to use. You can have access directly in the activity screen or in the performance screen. I prefer performance. It's larger as opposed to the activity screen. You always have your player profile or your employee profile here. The Insight does the same window but smaller. So I prefer to use a performance tab at the top, but same information with the same filters. So that's the new feature, Matt. Any questions, Matt or Mark?
Pascal, I did have a question. When you were in the performance view, looking at your team's results, I noticed that some of the results had a gold star next to them and some didn't. What does that indicate?
Let's go. So they were the top performers. So if you go back to the workspace, and the gold star was actually the top score. So it's a reference to the leaderboard. In the gamified environment, you have leaderboards, and the top positions have those gold stars. So I think I filtered. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
back. I think it was percentage of gold,
Mhm.
and there it is. So oh, I think it's doing better than the previous month. So again, this is a test environment, like demo environment. The data is not full, but current month is doing better than last month.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I
Sure.
was just curious, real quick. I see at the top you have the time intervals and you have the compare blank to blank. If you wanted to compare like the calendar year for 2022 to this current month, is that possible?
Right now, it is week or month
Oh,
in that span. We're working on opening up that calendar exactly to your point, right? I want to compare this quarter to last year,
yeah.
really define periods. So in this current version, this is the two filters are available for time interval, but definitely that's similar feedback we've gotten from customers. So enhancing on that type of feature.
Cool. Are you getting the feedback in the ideas lab, or how are they sending it your way?
Ideas Lab and our team, the Web Knowledge Hub team, interacts a lot through the CSMs with customers to encourage
Okay.
adoption of the WEM features. And when we're meeting with customers, we're always welcome this type of feedback. And some of us were at the conference last week at SWPP, and some of the feedback was super interesting. We met with our customers and talked about a lot about the WEM features like forecasting, scheduling, and also gamification.
Okay, cool.
Very cool. One other quick question, Pascal. It's my understanding that there's going to be an expansion of the data metrics that are available and insights to include things around other modules. Could you speak for a moment on what's kind of coming regarding those?
Yes, absolutely. So very short term, we're gonna be launching new metrics available for the gamification profiles. So two of them are coming up quite soon. Schedule adherence as a metric that you can configure in gamification. Average talk time is also a metric that's coming up very soon. And we are always looking to expand and add more and more metrics that are native to Genesys Cloud. The team is hard at work in releasing those type of metrics. These ones I'm thinking short term is by the end of August, and there's another pass set new metrics being available by the end of the year. Quality monitoring, and let me just remember quality monitoring results. So quality evaluations, when employees are assigned an evaluation and there's a result, you're going to be able to gamify, is that result top performer? Does that result generate you gamification points in your player profile?
Awesome. I thank you guys both so much for the demos today. I don't think I have any more questions. If anybody watching this does have questions, because we don't think of everything. If you do have questions, I always say go to the WEM community. It's moderated by the lovely Tracy Vickers, who coincidentally we get to hang out with a little bit in the next section. So stay away or stay around for that. Mark, Pascal, thank you guys so much for coming by. Pleasure to have you on the show, and I hope we get to do it again soon.
Excellent. Our pleasure. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, guys. Thanks again for those demos. That was wonderful. I'm really excited for what's coming up. I get to take a little bit of time off and let my dear friend and the WEM community's manager, Tracy Vickers, ask your pressing questions to our WEM panel. Tracy, let's see what you have in store for us.
Thanks, Matt. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Q&A section. I hope you have found the demos from Mark and Pascal really informative. I'm Tracy Vickers and I look after the wonderful WEM community. But so Matt doesn't feel like I've taken over completely, and knowing he is such a huge film buff, we are hosting the Q&A in the cinema. So let's get started. You've already met Mark and Pascal on the previous session. So Chuck, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi everybody, I'm Chuck Swain, a member of the Knowledge Hub team. I specialize in workforce management and helping customers implement and get the most out of their investment in Genesys Cloud WFM.
Thanks to everyone who submitted questions. We have received over 40. So unfortunately, we won't have time to answer them all because otherwise we're going to be here till like 6 hours into this actual call. But we will post responses on the WEM community to the ones we don't get to or contact you directly. So don't feel like you're going to be missing out because we will get to you. So let's dive straight in. So question 1 we had from Robert Wakefield Carl is for Pascal. And the question is, when will learning modules be able to be directly scheduled into agent schedules through the learning and development feature?
We have a new feature coming up in our roadmap, in our very short-term roadmap. I'll share the exact dates towards the end of this answer. But the feature is called activity plans. This will allow users to schedule multi-employees activities based on staffing and service guidelines and all parameters around those activities that you can create on your own. As a user, you'll be able to set these activities up for several employees and also set them up as a recurring activity. So if you think about learning, you want to deliver a learning session every month, you can use that activity plan feature to roll these out, and whatever is scheduled as a recurring event in the future will also be taken into consideration in the scheduling process. So it's although it's not exactly in the learning module, it is a great feature to help you with those type of activities. This feature will be in beta by the end of August, so look out in the beta community or beta HQ if you want to register and participate. And general availability should be by the end of November this year, 2023.
Great. Good to hear. Thanks, Pascal. So we have another question now from, I apologize, Judy, if I get your surnames pronounced incorrectly. So question 2 is from Judy Jimenez and is for Chuck. So my suggestion is pretty basic, and maybe there is a workaround for this. When would you republish a schedule? If you do, it removes all the exceptions loaded and they have to be re-entered. Yet, if there are a lot of exceptions, a major change, an issue affecting a large group of people, you would want to republish, correct?
Oh, that's a good question. So yeah, that is largely a process question. But with the tool itself, when you publish a schedule, you're essentially creating the official record of what your expectations for your agents are. So once you've published, there usually isn't a really good reason to overwrite a new schedule, especially if you've already made updates for exception activities, added time off, and all of the things that we do as WFM leaders to make sure that the schedules are the best possible representation of what we want our agents to do during a given week. However, if you do have to make a change, you can choose to generate a new schedule and just know that you'll lose anything that has been changed on the original schedule that you've published. So if a major change needs to be applied, as a WFM leader, you'll need to evaluate, is the manual updates to the agent schedules more efficient or less efficient than building an entirely new schedule and starting over and publishing over top of the one you've already worked so hard on.
That makes sense. So I'm going to throw a curveball here because it just made me think of a question. If you have like a published schedule already and you have a group of new hires that are coming in, would you just publish the schedule for those new hires?
That's another good question. So when I bring my new hires into my management unit and assign them to work plans, I now have the option to do a reschedule process. Through the rescheduling process in the schedule view, you're able to easily add those new resources onto an existing schedule using that process, and then republish, and then they're live and ready for action.
Cool. That was just a question from me that just threw you, sorry.
That's a really good question, and I think it does add a lot of value to kind of what we do as WFM leaders. We're always trying to make sure that we're being as efficient as we can, and that is a real life scenario that a lot of our customers, I'm sure, face.
Perfect, thanks for that. Right, Mark, you're next, and your question comes from Shelby Cronk. The question is, what solutions do we have to evaluate a certain number of calls per agent per month without it being front loaded? We may already have a solution for this, but curious to know what it is.
Great, thanks for the question, Shelby. Yes, we already have a solution for that. That is, you can automate the selection process for the purposes of completing evaluations through a policy or setting up multiple policies. Rather than me try to explain that to you, I'm going to share my screen for a moment and show you guys how and where to find policies and how you set them up. So policies are in the admin section under quality, and there's a line item called policies. So if you select that, that will take you to policies. One thing to make note of is when you are in policies, you want to make sure that you have this top area here, create new policy or delete selected policies. It is a permission. If you do not see that, if you see something like this over here, without that option, that tells you that you don't have the permission and you'll want to get with your system administrator. So to create a policy, to automate that call selection process, you would just select create a new policy and you would give it a name and a description. Now, when you're selecting policies, you can steer them towards the media type that you're looking for. On the left-hand side of the screen is this area called matching criteria. This is going to define what the system should be pulling and looking for. So whether it's a call, a chat, email, message, etc. Under the criteria, you could select various different components. So if you wanted to select just inbound interactions, you could do that. If you wanted to identify a specific queue that you are looking for, you would select whatever queue that might be. One of the key items that I find very helpful is the duration section. So if you select the duration section, you're essentially telling the system that you're limiting the pull that it can make based on whatever time period you enter. So in this example here, I'm telling the system, don't give me any calls that are less than 2 minutes long, or don't give me any calls that are greater than 10 minutes long. Once I define my matching criteria, now I go over to the other side of the screen to evaluations. And here's where I select what my cadence is. So if I want to do it by agent, I'm going to select assign evaluations by agents. I will select whatever that criteria is. If I'm doing 4 per agent per month, I will select that. You're also going to identify what is the default evaluation form that you want the system to use. So I would select my evaluation form. Now I'm going to select who is going to be participating. Who are my evaluators? Is there 1? Is there 2? Is there 5? I will enter all of their names in this distribute to evaluators area, and then I'll save it. Once I save it, then the policy is going to go into effect. The question you had about, is it going to front load? No, it's not. It's going to evenly disperse them and randomly select the interactions based on the time period I'm looking at. So if I'm assigning 4 per month, the system is going to try and pull 1 per week. It's not going to load 3 or 4 in the first week and then get nothing for the couple of weeks after that. Note that if you are using evaluation assistance in this evaluation form, when the evaluator receives the evaluation or this interaction and the system identifies this form, it is going to have automatically answered the questions that you have evaluation assistance tied to. So just keep that in mind when you're setting these up.
That's great. Thanks, Mark. Okay, another question coming in, which is back to Pascal. So question 4 comes again from Shelby. Nice, short and sweet. Can we export scored card summaries for agents? Short, sweet question, but not easy to say. Can we export scorecard summaries for agents?
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Tracy, and thank you, Shelby. So although it's not exactly an export of a scorecard per se, we have 2 options to give you access to scorecard information. So for sure, the Genesys Cloud APIs gives access to all the gamification information that is in Genesys Cloud. So either it be scorecards, metrics, leaderboards, all of that's available through the gamification APIs. So if you want to set that up, the Developer Center on Genesys. You can have access to all those APIs and learn how to set those up. But also in the Supervisor Insight that I just demonstrated earlier, there is an option to send a shareable link. So it's actually a snapshot or a screenshot of the Insight detailed performance for an employee that you can capture and send it to a leader, an employee, the employee themselves in an email, so or even in a message. So it's really a link to somewhat of a picture of the performance. So it's not exactly an export or a download per se, but it is definitely something that gives you access to that type of information, and you can share it with your employees.
Cool. So if Shelby has more questions on that, she can give you a shout.
Absolutely.
It's a bit more detail.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, another one for Shelby. Chuck, this one's for you. Is there any way to have auto best forecast run on a schedule automatically? And the same question goes for schedules as well as the forecast.
All right. Well, that's a good question. Currently, our forecasting and scheduling is generated by a button in the respective screens, forecasting and scheduling views. But there are roadmap items that are planned that will allow you to continuously generate a forecast and continuously generate a schedule for use in your regular planning cadence. So as you continue to utilize Genesys Cloud WFM, you will see in the near future, targeted for late 2023, those enhancements which are expected to be delivered. So keep your eyes peeled for those release notes for those features to come out. Incidentally, current forecasting allows you to generate simultaneously using our automatic best method to go out 6 weeks for a short term, but up to 2 years for a long-term forecast. A lot of us don't know that we can go 2 years into the future with our long-term planning to be able to give us some inputs for any capacity planning modeling or tools that we're using today for volumes.
Cool. It's still only 6 weeks at the moment for schedules, though, isn't it? But you can
Right.
run them 6 weeks in succession, can't you?
Yeah,
And publish them out that way.
Right. You can do 6 weeks in sequence. So 6, 12, 18, and so on. So you can go fairly far into the future with Genesys Cloud WFM currently.
Yeah. Better for that, though, if you've only got more static schedules as opposed to a flexible, movable schedule contact center. Excellent.
Right.
Thanks, Chuck.
Yeah.
Question 6. Yeah, it is. Question 6, again from Shelby, is back to Mark. Does the system differentiate sentiment scores based on whether the customer or agent says it?
The sentiment score is based on customer input, not on the agent itself. Typically, the way you can track how an agent is performing is, in most cases, best practice recommendation is you would have a topic around agent knowledge and contain all the phrases related to that. I'm not sure. I don't know. Things like that. And you can see at the agent level what their, how many agent knowledge gap topic hits you had, which will give you the agent side of the equation. On the customer side of the equation, the sentiment score that's assigned varies from a -100, meaning the customer is extremely dissatisfied, up to a +100, which means they're extremely satisfied. The overall sentiment score is computed based on weightings of the phrase hits that are identified as either positive or negative impacts on sentiment. And it also is weighted as to where it occurs in the call. We put a greater emphasis or a greater mathematical value on the sentiment hits that occur later in the call than we do early in the call. And the reason for that is simply because of the fact that if a customer calls and they're upset, the agent can't control how they come in, but the agent does impact how they leave and what their level of satisfaction is when they leave. So as the call progresses, as it gets deeper into the call, the sentiment hits later in the call have a greater emphasis on the overall sentiment score. So that's how that works. And it's not an agent metric, it is a customer metric.
Yeah, that's great. That makes perfect sense. Because there's many a time I've gone on screaming onto a call and then I've been calmed down as the call's gone on. Sure, most of us have. Excellent. Thanks, Mark. Right, back to Pascal for the final question. I know we've had so many more, but we will get to them eventually, not on this call, unfortunately. This question comes from Heather Henderson. I would love to see more metrics for gamification available without having to class it as an external metric. The system already holds the data. This applies to evaluations, web surveys, activity codes, etc.
Right, and this is a question we often get when we meet with customers, so it's a great question, so thanks for that. We are always looking and researching how we can add more metrics to gamification profiles. There's a larger project within Genesys Cloud for custom metrics, so no date, no visibility on that, but it is something we are looking into. But for gamification metrics, we are, by the end of Q3 this year, we are launching 2 new Genesys Cloud metrics, one for average talk time and also one for quality evaluations. So both of those are going to be available in the Genesys Cloud gamification profiles to gamify. So you can gamify average talk time and you can also gamify quality evaluation. So employees that get a quality result, quality score, you'll be able to gamify this as you do with other gamified metrics. Just a quick note on that, gamification and Supervisor Insight that we saw earlier, there's a variety of new features coming up in the next short while. So supervisors are going to be able to filter into the Insight module by groups, by work teams, even by interaction directions like inbound, outbound, elements like that. And you can also, from a metric perspective, expect to have schedule adherence as a metric available for gamification profiles by the beginning of 2024. So in addition to punctuality that is already there with the target that drives behavior, you're also going to be able to also have the schedule adherence percentage in the gamification scorecards. So these are a few things coming up very shortly for those 2 first ones, average talk time and quality evaluations, and look for other types of enhancements as we move forward.
Oh, and to be honest, 2024 is not that far away nowadays.
Yeah,
We're
right
already
there.
heading towards June. Excellent. So thanks, team, for answering those really great questions and with the answers. I hope that has helped many of you that are watching and our little short movie set that we've just had for you here in the cinema. As I mentioned, we haven't been able to answer all of the questions, but we will get back to like Rita, Vaughan, Victor, and Chris with responses to your questions. So just keep an eye out for those. Well, that's all for now, except one thing I have to mention. Now you have put faces to names. We hope to see you all at Experience in a few weeks. You now know our voices. So we'll be in Denver in a few weeks and hope to see you there. So come and find us and please say hi.
All right. Great job, Tracy. That was fun. Thank you to the panel. Thank you again to Mark and Pascal. How's everybody enjoying WEMay? Just remember, it's not over yet. This week, yes, when this episode airs, we are going to be doing WEMay trivia. Keep in mind, this is an open book test. You can find the answers that you need in the WEM community on this YouTube channel. And please, we want you to do your best to get every question correct so that you have a chance to win a prize from the prize wall. What else is going on? I hope to see you at Experience. I hope you enjoy this episode. And as always, I hope to see you in the community. Thanks for stopping by. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for tuning in for this week's episode. We hope it was helpful and maybe a little bit entertaining. Each week, our host and experts review community discussions and debate what content to discuss, so your voice matters. Did we miss something? Do you have a question for the show? Let us know. Join the conversation at the Genesys online community. As a Genesys customer or partner, you can create an account. Just click the sign-in button found on most pages and follow the necessary instructions to create an account. Also, feel free to email us at qashow@genesys.com. We'd love to hear from you. If this is your first episode, welcome. You can view our entire archives. Go to the Helpful Links panel found on most community pages and find the QA Show archive that interests you.
Also, check out the community's prize wall for current contests and previous winners.
We appreciate your support of the show and the community. Cheers!